Hi guys, and welcome back to Black Legion Contrast and Shades Only. We'll be concentrating on the details today and a little bit more black, as I want to use this as an opportunity to explain blacks a little bit more. Right, so straight on, and we're going to do the same but opposite as what we did for the armour. So we'll start with brown and then cover that with the blue. We're going to be using a mix of Ultramarines Blue and Wildwood, thinned 50-50 with the medium, as the Agrax Earth shade doesn't have the coverage or doesn't have the amount of pigment we need for this. I decided to make the horn black as well, as I wanted this to look like more of a mutation of his armour than an actual piece of bone. And now on to Space Wolves Grey, covering everything but the edges to start to make our black. The choice to do the gun black, do the guns black should I say, was, might end up overpowering the model with this particular colour, but as I said, I did want to concentrate a little bit with this tutorial on using blacks, and basically showing that what you can do is you can have two parts of a model black and still get a different effect, as I say, with the edged highlights either being a bluey grey or being brown. I covered that a little bit in part 1 for those who watched part 1. I decided it was still a little light for my tastes, so I went over this with an extra coat of Agrax Earth shade. You might notice other parts of the model have been painted, don't worry, we will skip back and forth through these. I didn't necessarily paint these in the order which you're seeing, but I wanted to put it in order at least so you can follow me painting the black parts while I was leaving them to dry. Obviously I'd go to other parts, but we cover most of what you get to see, don't worry about that. And down on his bolter I actually used Drakenhof Nightshade. I thought I'd give that a try instead of the Space Wolves Grey. I probably prefer the Space Wolves Grey in all fairness. I have used both to effect, but it's personal preference on that, or basically whatever you've got in stock. It is a subtle effect, but I'm hoping that you can see that a little bit of tonal difference can give us a different effect. And onto his cloak, I wanted to make a darker red here, so this is just Blood, Angels Red and Wildwood mixed 50-50, and then watered down another 50-50 with contrast medium. And then back in there for an extra coat, leaving the edge highlights. And onto these mutated areas of the armour with the faces, the demonic faces on. We're just using dark earth flesh here, and the original mix we used for the guns, the 2 parts wildwood and a part ultramarine, and we're going to wet blend the edges of the armour into the dark earth to make it look like the armour is basically becoming these demons. I do glaze over a tiny bit of Gulliman flesh in certain areas on these parts because I don't want the flesh tone to be too flat. If you look at a lot of faces, there's different tones, there's warmer tones, colder tones, things like that. We're not going to go into too much detail on that on these faces, but it just adds a little bit of variation, goes a long way. And all of the mutated pipes we're going to do in Gulliman flesh, as I want these to be a little bit lighter so we can make them look a little bit sore later on. And as stated earlier, here's me adding the Gulliman flesh. As you can see, it's a really subtle effect, but yeah, it does make a difference. Right, so onto these areas that we want to make look like saw or raw flesh. We're using Volupus Pink and Druiki. I always struggle with the names of these colours. If anyone wants to correct me, feel free in the comments. But yeah, Volupus Pink and Druiki Violet. We're not mixing these colours, we are using them separately. We'll use the pink first, apply that over some of these parts, and then what we'll do in some of the deeper recesses, add the purple to make that area look a bit more bruised. As Bob Ross would say, we had a happy little accident here. I actually went over some of the black with this pink and I absolutely loved the effect because it makes the armour look like it is mutating into these fleshy parts even more, so I chose to go over some of these black areas with that pink. As you can see, it leaves a really dark sort of a dark effect, which I really liked. As you may have noticed, we did fill in the eye. We did just use a watered down 50-50 mix of Blood Red for that, Blood Angels Red for that. Now this is a colour that I absolutely love. This is one of the few contrast paints that I will use without diluting. So this is just pure Snakebite Leather, and I use this on the strap, and I use this on some of the wooden parts of the gun. As you can see, it leaves brilliant highlights. If you want to add a little bit more depth, go in there with the second coat, only in the darkest recesses, but this stuff works brilliantly anyway, I would say. Right, so for the bones, I used straight up skeleton horde as the first paint. I found that this was far too similar, if not identical, to the areas of the gold which we've done. Now we've got a choice with this. We can either choose to darken the colour, go for a rotten bone like I've done in some of the videos, and use a diluted wildwood. However, that also resembles Agrax Earthshade, which we also used in the gold. So if we do that, we'll just make it look like the darker areas of the gold we've already painted. So what I chose to do with this is we chose to use a red brown because we've got not as much red on the model, so we're introducing a bit more red in there, and a reddish brown Reichland flesh shade makes the bone colours stand out a little different from the gold areas we've painted. I believe I do end up adding 2 coats of the flesh shade to make those parts look more distinct. And onto the metallic parts. For a non-metallic gunmetal here, I'm using Space Wolves Grey and Skeleton Horde mixed 50-50. We're not watering this down because both of these are quite light colours. We're going to go over this 2 to 3 times in selective areas to imitate reflections. For all of you wincing at this, I do normally drill the gun barrels out. I'm just unfortunately out of drill bits at the moment. Just eager to get content out there. I don't get a lot of time to paint. Having a 2-year-old and with work and whatnot, but yeah, I do normally drill these things out. And just the minor details now. For these gems and irons, I just used a tiny bit of Yandon yellow in the middle, and then went over that with a 50-50 mix of blood, angels, red. We had another happy little accident here and got some of the red on the black. Liked the effect, decided to use that as an object light source as if these were glowing. So as I say, don't be afraid to use your mistakes, you can sometimes benefit from those. And with those details, we're pretty much finished with the tutorial for this model. The next tutorial I'll be doing, for those interested, will be Imperial Fists, as I've not really painted much yellow, other than the non-metallic metal of course, but we're going to be going for a different effect. Wanting a yellow rather than a gold. So for those interested, keep your eyes out for that. I want to thank everybody who has subscribed and everybody for all the positive feedback that I get. Feel free to leave any comments for me. It's always good to get input, always good to get feedback. One thing in particular I'd like the feedback on is, I know some people have said they really enjoy the fact that I leave the whole painting process in there so they can watch the model develop. So what are people's thoughts on that? Do they want me to continue leaving the whole model, or would they rather me cut this down, concentrate more on showing you little clips of the colours I'm using and the tips, and reduce the overall length of the tutorials? Let me know that in the comments, that'd be really helpful for me, and hopefully see you in the next video. Thank you.